All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. We will have folks continue to roll on throughout the time of our workshop. We usually run about an hour and a half to maybe hour and 45 minutes or so, depending on how much everyone shares, which brings up the point. Please feel free to share. You can put things in the chat, but also feel free to raise a hand and share your thoughts and get some feedback. You'll see that we have the way that this is structured, which I'll get into in a minute. We go through basically four different sections where we have, some learning during that section, and then you have some, an exercise or journal prompt that you can think about for a couple minutes and make some notes. And then, you can get feedback or share some of the insights that you've gained. But please feel free to share. This is meant to be interactive. As you'll tell, I certainly do like to speak and want to inspire you to, align your habits with your big goals. But also, I want to hear, what you think and what you're going through, and the goals that you want to set, the habits you want to accomplish, and how some of these things are working for you. So please do feel free to share. Always you'll see the chat, usually moves along during our meetings, but also happy to, have you come off of mute, be on video and share as well. So definitely feel free to share. We also typically like to, start with an engaging prompt that, gets you thinking about implementing habits that could change your life. So as we start now, I'm wondering, and you can write this down in your journal, but I definitely encourage you to have a journal or a pen and a piece of paper close by. You certainly can type these things, but it's always better to be fully present in the workshop, looking at the slides and interacting. So, if you can write down, there's something about writing manually that certainly is helpful as well. So first, I want to ask you, what's one habit you wish you could change, what's one habit you wish you could stick to that would change your life? What's one habit you wish you could stick to that would change your life? And feel free to share that. You can type it in the chat, or by all means, feel free to share verbally as well. So I'll give you just, maybe 30 seconds or so. Think of a habit that you wish you could stick to that would change your life. All right. So yeah, stick to the plan. Yeah, we're gonna make that really easy for you today, Sylvia. So hopefully, sticking to the plan will be a lot easier. So we're gonna give you tools to do that today. And daily routine, yeah, most definitely, Brandy. We will give you some tools for daily routine. That's a lot of what today is about. We start really high level and then work our way down to daily habits and routines that will help you live the life of your dreams, because you're doing those things every day that you want to do to live the life you want to live. And Hafsa, put myself first and work on the important things that help get closer to goals. Yeah, weeding out all the distraction and staying focused on the important goals is so important. That really involves saying no to a lot more. Deborah wants to practice her creative skills. And Deborah, great to see you again. Hopefully able to carve out some time for being here again. I'm happy you've done so. I had on mine personally daily exercise and yoga. It's one thing on my daily habit tracker, which I'll be sharing with you later. And I practice what I preach here. But it's the one thing I don't always get to. But over the last month or so, I've been better about it than I ever have for the last 5 years of tracking my habits. So I'm working really hard on making that a part of my daily routine, even though it's been there for a long time. I don't always hit it, but feeling great. I think we've covered those. Anyone else have anything they want to share on that? All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and keep moving here. Before we get into a lot of the substantive content, I would like everyone to be fully present here today. And by doing that, we're just going to do a fairly brief grounding exercise. We're just going to take 1 or 2 minutes here to get fully present, to quiet our mind, become fully present here with each other and with ourselves, and tune into what's going on here. And that means being fully present. In order to do that, we're going to do a little bit of a grounding and breathing exercise. So if you're sitting down in a chair, which most of us are, put your feet flat on the ground, and you may even want to, just put your hands on your lap, rest them on your thighs, uh, and take a deep breath in through your nose, if possible. Take a deep breath in, and then hold it at the top. So we're going to take a deep breath in now, and then hold it at the top, and then sigh it out. Even audibly, feel the air pass through the back of your throat and audibly give it a sigh. All right, sigh it out. So we're going to do 2 more of those. So I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it at the top. Deep breath in and hold it at the top. Hold it and then sigh it out. And we're going to do 1 more of those. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it, and then sigh it out. Let it all go. Let everything go that's been holding you back. And now, with your eyes closed, or maybe just bring your gaze down low if closing your eyes is uncomfortable for you, um, just feel your natural breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just breathing in and breathing out, and focus just on the air coming in. Maybe you want to focus on the feeling of the air at the coming in through the tip of your nose, or that little space right between your nose and the top of your lip. Just feel the air coming in and going out. We're going to do that for just about 1 minute, being fully present, just focusing on the breath. Don't focus on any other thoughts. Don't let anything else enter your mind. And you will notice that thoughts do pop in, but just let them pass, like clouds passing through the sky. Just a thought may come in. Don't rest on it. Just observe it. Hey, I'm thinking that, but I'm going to let it go and return to feeling my breath. Just focus on the breath. So we're going to do that for a minute, starting now. Breathe in and breathe out. Feel the air coming in through your nose, or maybe feel it in the bottom of your belly. Feel your diaphragm raising and lowering. And you may say to yourself, breathing in, breathing out, or raising and lowering. Just feel the air coming in and going out. Don't stay stuck on any thought. Just let it pass and focus on the air coming in and going out. Inhale, followed by an exhale. Slowly becoming fully present here today. This is your time just to focus on making your life better and being the person you're meant to be. Just focus on breath coming in and going out. Soften the shoulders. Find there's more space there as you release the tension and let your shoulders drop. Instead of keeping them up near your ears, let them drop down. Release the tongue from inside your mouth. You realize we sort of let that float there. Your tongue, a lot of times we hold tight in your jawline. Let your jaw relax, and the muscles in your forehead, let them all just drop down and relax. Breathing in and breathing out. An inhale followed by an exhale. All right, let's start to become a little more present. I know we'd all like to stay in that space for a while longer. Let's start to wiggle your fingers and your toes and become fully present here now. All right. So if you've struggled to stay consistent, which, people put some of those habits that they wish they could implement that would change their life. If you've struggled to stay consistent with some of those habits in the past, it's not that you're falling short in life. You just may have been trying to force a version of success that may not have been aligned with who you truly are. So today we're going to reset that and rebuild from your true self. The plan for today, the overview for today is first, we're going to cover why most goals fail. Then we're going to talk about how to set the right goals, and then how to build supportive habits that will support you in achieving those goals. And next, how to get back up when life throws you off your routine. In other words, how to stay on track. Napoleon Hill said, "Desire is the starting point of all achievement, not a hope, not a wish, but a keen, pulsating desire which transcends everything." So if you have a desire to make this year the best year you've ever had and move past all that's held you back from living in complete happiness and bliss, then we will turn that desire into action. We're going to mold that burning desire for love, happiness, and success into real action you can take today to live the life of your dreams. We're going to do this by aligning your dreams with your habits. So, how do I know this works? Because I've done it over the last 7 years. This isn't just hypothetical. These are things I've worked on, and I am now living the life of my dreams. I just recently, over the last 6 weeks or so, have moved to Vermont, which has been a dream of mine for me and my family for the last few years. And with my family, we have 5 kids, my wife and I, and we are now settling here. And I just love being here. It's part of my dream, and it's coming true because I put those goals and my habits in place to help me get there. It took me a ton of trial and error and learning to get to a point where my big goals and daily habits are aligned with, so that I can live the life of my dreams every day. So, with those 5 kids ranging in age from 4 to 17 and running 2 businesses, I have to be focused and disciplined to ensure that we can all live happily and productive lives, meaning me and my family. So I decided 7 years ago that I wanted to figure out why I wasn't achieving what I hoped to achieve, why I was looking in the mirror with disappointment and not seeing the joyful and successful person that I had hoped to be. Now, by all outward appearances, I was successful, but I didn't feel like it inside. And so I'm going to save you years worth of learning and mistakes to become who you are meant to be, to live the life of your dreams now. Does that sound good? All right. Don't worry. This isn't going to be hard. It just requires a system that works for you, and we put that together for you. So we're going to have some fun along the way. We're going to do some exercises, but if you're ready, let's go ahead and get into it. So first, like I said in the overview, first thing we're going to cover is why goals fail. We want to understand that there is a way to overcome those things that have held us back in the past. So at the beginning of the year, we held an inspiring 8-week course called Thrive in 25 to kick off the year right by implementing our big goals. At the beginning of the course in early January, I shared with entrepreneurs, professionals, and parents who joined us a statistic we found in our research. Less than 9% of adults achieve one New Year's goal, meaning 91% of adults who set goals reach 0 of them. That's so sad. We have all these resolutions and intention for goals, but no one reaches them. So our research showed us why they fail. So we want you to be in that 9% of people who accomplish their goals. So some of the common reasons goals don't stick. First, an unclear vision. Meaning we know we have some goal, but we're not sure what exactly that is. Second, external pressure, which really is distractions, meaning all the things from outside come at you. You have, other things that get in the way. Life gets in the way. External pressures or distractions. We're going to talk a decent amount about that too. Unrealistic pace, meaning this was one thing that I, really lost a major goal to. It was that we had started this new company and we are going to, do all this, have all these customers within a short period of time. The problem is it was an unrealistic pace. It wasn't sustainable when we weren't really clear on how to get there. So it was a combination of, being unclear and unrealistic pace. It doesn't mean you shouldn't set big goals. It's just you need a way to get there and follow it step by step. And the last is lack of alignment. And this is really important. We're going to cover a lot today, meaning your goals are not aligned with your true self. So you don't necessarily go fully into pursuing that goal because it's not aligned with who you really are. So I love this quote by Robert Brault, who said, "We're kept from our goal not by obstacles, excuse me, we're kept from our goal not by obstacles, but by a clear path to a lesser goal." We're always taking detours and getting off the highway to our dreams, not because it's too hard or too far, but because we're distracted by what's right in front of us. These folks right here were on their way to the summit of a mountain when they saw a sign that said, "Great view over here." They were distracted and kept from their goal, not by an obstacle, but by a clear path to a lesser goal to go see that great view. These folks continued on to their goal. They weren't distracted. They got to the summit. They got to their goal of getting to the top of the mountain by not being distracted by the clear path to a lesser goal. It's not an obstacle. It's those little things that take us down another path, the easily achievable goals that get in the way. Look, this happens to all of us every day. Does scrolling through news or social media get you to your goal faster? No, it fills your brain with negative inputs of others, wastes our time, and takes our mind off what matters most, our goals, our family. Our addictions to the phone, alcohol, drugs, and the negative news stream keep us distracted from our goals. And these distractions take us from what matters most, from our dreams and our loved ones. Have you ever heard of Blaise Pascal, who's a famous French inventor and mathematician? And Blaise Pascal said, "Distraction is the only thing that consoles us from our miseries. And yet, it itself is the greatest of our miseries," meaning distraction is the greatest of our miseries. It keeps us from getting to our goals. We all have certain vices and bad habits that we want to overcome. We may not even recognize the dependence as a problem, but it still may take us from our natural state. And when we're taken from our natural state, we don't operate at our best. When you operate at your best, you put good stuff into your body and your mind, and you consume positive content, not all the junk that distracts our attention. So even if you're not distracted by all those modern distractions in life today, many of us are kept from our real goals by that clear path to a lesser goal. Meaning a friend or a coworker asks you to help out, a smaller task or goal comes up that's easily achievable, so we jump right into it, leaving our big goals and dreams behind. And that small hit of feeling a little bit of accomplishment makes us feel like we've done something, but it delayed your real goal, and you might even put it off forever. Your true self knows this, and your inner voice calls to you to stay focused. You may experience some success, but it's not real success that your true self requires of you. So, misaligned goals, goals that aren't aligned with your true self, create confusion, anxiety, and burnout. That's why so many some seemingly successful people aren't happy. They may be achieving professional and work success, but they're just accomplishing small daily tasks. Inside, they're unhappy because they're not aligning their daily habits with their big goals. And that creates confusion and leads to burnout. So you may go one way when your true self knows you need to go another way, and it creates anxiety and confusion. But clarity brings confidence. Clarity brings confidence, and confidence is contagious. So another reason that goals fail, even if they are clear. So you want to be clear in your goals and you want it to be aligned with your true self. But another reason that they fail is they're not aligned with your true self. Gandhi said, "We shut our ears to that still small voice inside us." But when you listen, when you truly listen, you know what to do. Your inner voice propels you into your future with clarity. We all have a small voice within us that speaks to us about wanting an amazing life, nudges us to our personal and professional dreams, and clamors for love and happiness and success. I want you to give a megaphone to that small voice within. This is your true self and your higher power directing you where to go. When you listen to your inner voice, you are aligned and living on purpose. When you're clear on your goals and they're aligned with your true self, you can live the life of your dreams. This alignment, meaning with your true self, brings excitement and confidence to you every day. And as you move towards your goals, you're able to be excited because you're clear and you're aligned. So now that we understand why some goals fail, we want to talk about doing a couple of activities here where you can take a minute to reflect on those, and then we'll start getting into how you align your goals with your true self. And after that, we'll start moving into developing habits that will help you achieve those goals. So uh, at the end of this section, I want to know right now, maybe take 2 to 3 minutes to journal this. It's your first real exercise. I know you've put a couple things here, but I want you to take a couple minutes to reflect. Think of a goal you set in the past, but you didn't reach. And what do you think really got in the way that kept you from getting to that goal? I'll share, I shared a little bit of one before when I was going through why goals fail, but I'll tell you what's happened to me before. But, we're going to help you avoid some of those things. But for now, let's go ahead and figure out what's a goal you might have set in the past and what do you think actually got in the way. So similar to before, share in the chat or in group discussion, feel free to raise your hand in Zoom and take your mic off and come on video. So we'll give you maybe 2.5 minutes or so to think about that. Might just take maybe another 30 seconds or so to consider goal you set in the past but didn't reach and what may have gotten in the way. All right. So, in thinking of a goal you set in the past but didn't reach, I What do you think really got in the way? Yeah, I said I'd share before I mentioned the goal of this company we started, OhmGrid. You'll hear me mention a little bit later. It was a tremendous learning experience for me, uh, and incredibly painful, personally, financially, and lots of other ways. But in that, you know, we set an unrealistic goal, meaning we were following advice of a business coach of, going really big and aligning on that big vision. It wasn't that the problem was that the vision, was too big. It was just that we had an unrealistic time frame for where we were in starting that, and also not necessarily understanding sort of the market or the desire for people to implement. So, the unrealistic pace got in the way, and we knew there were some barriers, and we kind of ignored them and moved forward with it anyway. Um, and also, the alignment with true self, like it was a great business goal, and I was very passionate about it. But was my true self? I don't think so. I think, you'll hear later things like, writing books and inspiring you is my true self, not necessarily being a clean energy executive, although I've done that for many years, and still do that today for running our company, Blue Sky Power. So Deborah shared there, uh, completing your studies and getting your teaching degree, and, that life got in the way, which, often happens to a lot of us. And, uh, not sure if you still want to pursue that, which you may want to or may not. I guess that depends. And Brandy is putting people in life ahead of my own goal path. Yeah, I mean that's what so many of us fall prey to, right? As parents and spouses and colleagues, we care for everyone else. Like I have 5 kids, and right as I was getting on this call, my son is abroad right now at boarding school. He was calling me at 11:59. I said, "Hey Henry, I've got this call. I got to jump on. I can help you a little bit." But even bigger picture, you know, all kinds of things get in the way, with loved ones getting sick or needing to care for, our children and their needs and everything that gets in the way. It keeps us from our goals. But if we stay really focused on that, which, I've put these systems in place that keep me working on my goals and getting rid of the distractions. So I'm able to care for them. And remember, I say this all the time. I say it in my book, um, is you can't care for yourself unless you care, or you can't care for others unless you care for yourself. So you may do okay at caring for others, but you do a lot better at caring for others if you're first caring for yourself. So you got to carve out that time. You got to carve out that time, whether it's, exercise or getting enough sleep, or, working on your big goals, or, maybe it's getting up an hour earlier. I get up at 5 a.m. to make sure that I can get my goals, big goals done before everyone gets up. So I have, 30 minutes to meditate and journal, and then I have an hour to get my big priority done for the day before I have to start helping everyone get ready for school. So, yeah, I mean, life does get in the way, but if we truly are excited by our big goals, which we'll get into in a minute, we can make that time. And yeah, I mean, yes, life gets in the way, and we'll talk about that at the end. At the last section is actually what to do when life knocks you off course, or how you get back to your goals when things do get in the way and roadblocks come up. Sylvia, you have their conflicting values, um, and did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. My personal values, important top priority values, they conflict. For example, family is my top priority value, right? But at the same time, like personal development is also my priority value. Then I don't have a time to pursue my personal values of personal development because something happens in the family. I have children with behavioral challenges, neurodivergent child.
Yes.
So I cannot plan when emergency is going to happen. So I have to be always ready. So then, like, I have to drop my personal development, which is also professional development that I want to be continuing, has to stop so that I can tend to my family when my child goes into that neurodivergent emergency. Everything stops.
Yes.
and then completely fall off the wagon, and then I have to put the wagon back up to go back to the routine I want to have. And it takes a really long time. And oftentimes I say, you know what? I don't want to do it anymore.
Yes. Yeah, no, I mean, those are incredibly difficult challenges. I mean, I deal with that as well with one of our children. And I will say, hopefully it helps today, and I'm happy to help support you, beyond just this call in that. Um, and yeah, we'll put it in here at the end, but also, my email is ben@benparvey.com. Chad, if you can put that in there. Happy to, coordinate a little bit more and talk a little bit more about that. So putting these systems in place, which we'll get into, meaning the goals worksheet, which we will get into. Yeah, there it is there. Email me at ben@benparvey.com. Happy to discuss that a little bit more. But the goals worksheet, the habit tracker, I put those in place so that I even if life gets in the way, do I get to all of them every day? I don't. But that system is in place so that I'm more easily able to get to those goals. And like, do I actually get to all of the goals I set every single month? No. But if they're in there and I'm tracking them, it might be that it takes me 2 to 3 months to accomplish something I set for that month, but I still end up getting it done within the quarter and I make time for it like my life depended on it, and you'll hear me say later, because my life does depend on it. So, when your son or daughter is asleep, you know, that's the time to get it done. When, whether it's, at 5 a.m. or at 9 p.m., you block 60 to 90 minutes and you do your number one priority that gets you closer to your goal, 4 or 5 times a week or 7 times a week, when your neurodivergent child is sleeping, and you make it a system.
I have a question on that. Theoretically, I know I'm supposed to do that, but in terms of my energy level, I'm so exhausted. My priority is sleeping as much as I can whenever I can. So when I put my priority of self-care, then like that time of doing my plan, which is getting a degree, right? Um, it becomes challenging because you sit down and try to study or wake up early. Physically, you are drained. And
Yeah.
then when you take that 8, 9 hours of sleep, then you also have no negotiable house chore or other things you tend to, right? That takes time. And of course, people say, well, then you can outsource it, like um, buying help. I don't have that kind of margin to buy
Right.
help to take care of my kid or do the housework. So this is a kind of, again, the clashing not only values but the priorities as well, and in the circumstances. So yeah, and I guess that's why I'm here.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and I mean I've struggled with all of those situations as well. I mean, whether it's, not having the energy level, or not having the finances to take care of, having all the help and support you need in order to do that. And, running a business for 17 years, that's been up and down and up and
Mhm.
down. It's a challenge. So a couple things, which I've dealt with a lot of those. I gotta say, I feel younger at 50 than I did at 40 or 30 or 20, because I focused a lot on my health and self-care to keep my energy levels up. Um, a lot of things have gone into that. And I mean, these may not be your issues, but my point is, if you focus on your health and your energy level, I guess first I would say everyone, most adults, and it's different for everyone, but need about 7 hours of sleep. So if you can try to make it, you get it on a schedule that you can get 7 hours of sleep, meaning the first thing I track in my habits is sleep, so that I have that energy. Is I have the first thing in my habits is sleep by 10, wake by 5. So I actually start my daily habits with sleeping the night before. So sleep by 10, wake by 5. That way I've got 7 hours of sleep, and I've trained myself to need that 7 hours of sleep, no more, no less. It's kind of like, if if I've gotten to bed by 11, I really can't get up before 6. So I try to really make sure I'm in bed by 10. And that takes planning. You got to start by 6 or so to get all the stuff done for the kids and handled in the next day and lunch is packed and all that in order to be able to, get to bed by 10. And it's tough. But that time, that sacred time at, 4:30 or 5 a.m., from 5 to 6:30 when no one else is awake is when I can meditate, journal, and take care of top priority. Now, energy levels, I guess about 3 years ago, I quit, no alcohol, no weed. I've basically gone vegetarian at this point, um, other than like eggs and, invertebrates. But anyway, my energy level is so much higher because also the other thing is too, distractions. Like, if when you're tired, if you watch, your phone or YouTube or Netflix or things like that, that keeps you tired as well.
Mhm.
So, you want restful sleep with no screens for the last hour of the day and the first hour in the morning. You can't communicate with everyone all the time. You need to carve out that self-care time. And that also means, you know, texting and social media or email and things like that, that's also a distraction from getting that sacred sleep. So those are some things. I mean, we'll cover those in more detail, but happy to also support. Does some of that resonate where you might be able to carve out more time or do some things? Maybe in your habits, you first work on energy level, and as you build up your strength and your energy level, then you can start working on getting towards getting back to school.
Um, the thing is, a lot of these habit building workshops or coaches, I even have had coaches talk about waking up early in the morning, but I'm a night person. Um, so waking up at 5, 6 a.m. doesn't work. My wake up time is like 8 a.m.
Yeah, I hear
Thankfully,
you.
yeah,
Me too. I
yeah,
was I was always a night owl. When I say night owl, I'm talking like, you know, 2, 3 a.m. I mean,
yes.
I also say in my book, like, seeing sunrises, was fairly regular. And that means, not by waking up early, but by being up from the day before. That is a major, and I changed that. I had to change that so that I could get to the gym in the morning. And that's when I switched to trying to get to bed earlier. So I hear you on that. Also, I saw you sipping that. Like, I also eliminated caffeine. So, I mean, I'm getting up in the morning and only drinking an herbal tea and things like that. So, um, yeah, why don't you reach out to email me and I'm happy to help you on some of those tips because I've been through all of those things
Mhm.
before and taken sort of substantial steps. And today we'll work on the habit tracker. So why don't we pick a couple of them that I think can help you start working on getting, the better sleep, earlier sleep, and energy level up first. All right. Uh, moving on. I want to move on, then we'll start the next section. But Brandy, you had mentioned setting boundaries. Did you want to expand on that at all? Let's see. I'll give you a second. You're on mute, Brandy, if you do want to discuss it. My friend recently got their Japanese fluency certificate by studying only 10 minutes at a time between things like chores or on a work break. It took him a few years, but you can still grow with limited time. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Chad. That's one of those things in these, the habit tracker, the habitually inspired habit tracker, where even if you carve out a couple of minutes, like we talk about, I don't have time to exercise. Well, it's like we're sitting here stationary at our desks, and maybe between Zooms, you just get up, you have like those little hand weights, and you do 5 minutes of this, and then you get up and you do some jumping jacks, or you do a couple push-ups, and it's like, I don't have time to go to the gym. Okay, but make 10 minutes today, or like Chad's friend did, 10 minutes to get a Japanese fluency certificate. We got to make this time to put ourselves first. Deborah, go ahead. You're
There I
still on
go.
mute.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I do that snacking too of, like my weights and I try to practice my instruments that way. We have just moved, which I'm very, very thankful for. We moved, and we're 4 nights in our new home in Pleasant View, Tennessee, from Ventura, California. Both are beautiful places and left beautiful people and activities behind, and we're meeting beautiful people and activities. I found the gym, and I'm enjoying that. As we're unpacking, I'm going like, oh, I went to this seminar, what, 2 months ago, and I'm like, I'm really having trouble getting my traction under me again for my um, these creative goals that I want to accomplish, and many things, as you can see, are up in the air. But the one distraction that's probably the hardest for me is the uncluttering one, and I've been praying about that a lot. A lot of our furniture belongings came broken, so that was an immediate, easy way to unclutter.
Yeah.
But it's coming together. It's coming together nicely, and my husband's just great. I mean, he's logistical genius. He's just amazing, and I'm ready to just be creative. My piano arrived a couple days ago, so I'm like, okay, practice piano. But I'm really having trouble like letting things go because I'm saying it just feels cluttered, and I want streamlined.
Yeah,
And
if you want to declutter, get rid of it all. You don't
yeah,
need it. You don't need any of it. Yeah, it's the one thing I've noticed in like just moving over the last,
yeah,
few
yeah,
weeks is
share.
we haven't put our house, back in New Jersey outside of Philadelphia up for sale yet. Um, we're renting a house, that's furnished here. Like I don't have most of our stuff. You know what? We've been here, a couple months now. I don't need any of that stuff. Like I don't, after a couple weeks, like I don't miss any of it. Like,
It's
you think you
stuff,
need all the
right?
stuff. It's stuff. You can adapt somewhere else. You just need sort of your clothes and toiletries and stuff. Anyway, thank you for sharing that. But yeah, it's, making a few minutes a day for these habits is so important. I mean, my top priorities, I try to carve out 60 and 90 minutes a day on my top priorities, but I find that even if I don't get those, still try to squeeze in getting my top priority done and making that time. Sorry, Brandy, you're about to talk about setting boundaries.
Um, am I unmuted?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. It's just I moved here from Michigan after losing my other half for 20 years and living with my dad now and his girlfriend with dementia. It seems like everything is full time on all the needs of the home and him and not setting boundaries of my time.
Yeah. No, I mean
And
caring for parents
yeah, it's
is such a
crazy.
tough one.
Yeah, because by the end of the day, when I have my time, I'm just exhausted.
Yeah, one thing on that, and I mean, I'm not an expert on that at all, but I mean, I do have friends, caring for elderly parents. My sister's gone through it with her in-laws as well, dealing with dementia as well. But um, you might want to join a support group of caretakers. People are caring for loved ones. I think that's been incredibly beneficial for lots of folks because, you don't feel so alone and isolated and exhausted. You may feel exhausted still, but, you're at least
Yeah.
sharing with some others. But kind of like Sylvia and I were just talking about, though, what we're talking about is caring for others and putting others first before ourselves.
Yeah.
So we end up putting our goals on hold, and we turn around a couple of years later and say, exhausted, haven't gotten anywhere, and we
Mhm.
almost become resentful of the people we love the most because we're giving them, everything we got. We got to carve out some time. Again, you can't care for others without caring for yourself first. You got
Right.
to put yourself first. You got to say, you know, whether it's finding that time early in the morning or while they're sleeping, midday or, in the evening or whatever it is, and make that time and feel good. Like let's say, whether it's I think your dad and your mother-in-law or your dad and your mom or stepmom.
They're late. They sleep in late, so
Yeah. So that's great. I mean, if they sleep in late, you need to start working on getting up early. Whether it's getting in some exercise or working on, your own priority or just taking a long shower or a bath, you
mhm.
know, to just calm yourself, feel yourself, meditate and journal. I mean, I start every morning, as soon as I get up with meditation and journaling. you know, my life is so nuts. Our house is total chaos. You know, we always say we have five big kids, five big personalities. Not one kid is chill. You
Yeah.
know, they're all nuts. Um, and you know, I have to get up and meditate. Yeah, I said to my wife the other day, she was talking about, you know, my one kid being a total pain in the ass. And she said, you know, I said to her, I said, this is why I get to, you know, try to get to yoga every day. I said, this is why I meditate and journal. And, you know, she sort of brushed it off, but it's true. I mean, that's why I find time to, you know, find my breath. That's why we started today with, you know, a grounding and a breathing exercise. Even if you're just finding 10 minutes to carve out for yourself to breathe and refocus, you know, maybe it's exercise, maybe it's a bath. And then, you know, you realize, hey, I can find time to care for myself. I'm also going to find 30 minutes to work on my big goal. And I'm going to do that, you know, every day or 3 or 4 or 5 times a week because you are the most important thing in your life. Yes, we've taken on these roles of caretaker, of parent, you know, of spouse, of child caring for parents. But our first, you know, responsibility is to ourselves and to our higher power. You know, you know, it is our, you know, the universe, God, spirit, source telling us what we need to do, and we know what that is. And, you know, you can't just put it off and be resentful of everyone else because no one else is making you do those things. You're the one who's caring for others. You know, and some of it's procrastination. Some of it's like, hey, it's easier to just go take care of this person than do the thing that I know I need to do. You know, let me just clean up, let me just clean up this mess. Like, you know, I came in today and I was about to start straightening and stuff. You know, my wife's still going back and forth. She's a preschool teacher, but she didn't want to quit when we made this last minute decision to move and leave them and her co-teacher, her best friend hanging. She's still going back and forth. And so, you know, I have all the kids here. She's going back and forth, and she sort of brings our 4-year-old back and forth. But I came in from dropping the little kids off from school today, and I started to like straighten up the house, and I was like, no, go sit down and do those your top 3 priorities for the day. Like go work on the True Self Project, this 30-day habit challenge we're doing. And I did that. I'm finishing my final edits to my book and getting them to our, you know, our marketing agency and publisher. And like, you know, just do that. Just get that done for 30 minutes. Don't straighten up. You can straighten up later. So yeah, I mean, we got to carve out this time for ourselves and make it happen. And you know, we gotta care for ourselves before we care for others. All right. Thank you all for sharing. I love it when we share. I love, you know, talking with everyone. We got to keep moving so I can kind of keep us on track. But thank you all for sharing. You know, those are deeply personal things that we're all doing. Like I said, my email is there. Happy to help support you more in those. And you'll see, I'm about to start giving you the tools that'll help you overcome some of this. So I mean, first we're talking about challenges, but now we're going to talk about how we're going to overcome those challenges. So, you know, this is the way. This is the way forward. We're going to talk about how you align your goals with your true self. So we're going to find some alignment. And then once we're setting those big goals, we're going to talk about carving out that time and creating those habits. So we're going to shift from externally imposed goals to deeply personal, soul-led vision for your life. You're going to build an emotional connection to your true self. So now we're going to talk about setting expansive goals, not just little goals, but big goals that excite you. Aligning your goals with your true self ensures that you are set up for success. You get there through alignment and deliberate practice. So it's good to have good habits, and we will get to habits. And I know this is the Aligned Habits Workshop, and that's why you're here. But where are they getting you? And that's why we say Aligned Habits, not just Habits Workshop, because are they aligned? Meaning, are your habits aligned with your goals, your dreams, and your true self? You need to know where you're headed. You need to set goals and you need to make them big. So we want to start by going big, meaning where do you want to be in 10 years or in 20 years? And don't worry about where you are right now. It doesn't really matter if you're 30 or 50 or 70. There's no end to what you can achieve at any age and at any point, but you have to think bigger. So what is your big inspired goal? What seems outrageous to others, but you know in your heart you need to do? This is your North Star. This is the direction you need to head. Who do you want to be in 10 years? My dad's 82. He's worked 6 days a week. He's a physician. And he starts texting me the other day. He said, talk to me about my light in the mirror. He said, what I see in the mirror is, an old disheveled guy, but he's still so active and so energetic. And like I said, 6 days a week at a children's hospital. And, he's talking about what to do next. And, I said, you could live for another 20 or 30 years. And he's so active and healthy right now. I was like, plan big. Doesn't matter where you are right now. Go big. Where do you want to be in 10 years? We're going to work backwards from 10 years out, down to 3 years, then to this year, then to this quarter, and then this month. And then next section, we'll set the daily habits that bring those goals to life. They all linked. They're all linked together, meaning your big vision goes all the way down to your daily habits. So let's start with a question though, and that is, are you the same person today that you were 10 years ago? I know for me, the answer is no. I'm 50 now, I was 40. I look at where I was 10 years ago. I am a totally different person. I've changed all of those things that I talked about, meaning for my health and daily practices and all these things. I've accomplished so much. I've come so far. I don't even see the world the same way that I did 10 years ago. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. But most of us set goals and plans as though we would be ourselves today, but just a little bit older. But that's not the case. You will be a totally different person in 10 years, which is why I want you to think big. I want you to set your goals based on an expansive vision for your life. There's this concept called perspection, which is the ability to mentally represent and evaluate possible futures. It's a fundamental psychological skill that includes planning and imagining future scenarios and evaluating possible futures, including planning and prediction. And when we envision future scenarios, a lot of times, like I said, we limit ourselves to what we know now, but there are no limits. Our goal in this workshop is to open our minds to think without limits. So, share a quick story. Just when I was 27, I was in about the end of my second year of law school. And we talked about staying up all night. I'd been pulling all-nighters on the regular. And I was staying in the kitchen one night and my left leg felt a little warm. So I looked down thinking maybe the dog just peed there, if there was, a pipe under the ground or something. I put my hand down and there was nothing there. That night, my leg starts twitching every couple seconds. And within a couple days, I couldn't lift my left foot. Like I total drop foot. I was dragging my foot. 2 days after that, I couldn't hold a pen in my right hand, which is, kind of essential, or type kind of essential for law school exams. And I lost the ability to use my right hand. MRI showed that I had lesions in my brain and my spinal cord. My head was spinning and my body's deteriorating. I'd just been elected class president, editor-in-chief of Law Journal, and I was wondering if I was going to die. Like, what on earth was happening to me? I was only 27. And after, I got the MRIs, I got the diagnosis, I had multiple sclerosis. I was relieved when my dad told me I wasn't going to die right now, but it could get worse. I'm thinking, worse? Like, how is this going to get any worse? My bright future was quickly dimming. And the next day, I'm sitting in the neurologist office awaiting more tests and a spinal tap. And I looked in the mirror. I was in the waiting room and I went into the bathroom and I looked in the mirror, but I didn't see despair. Instead, I saw a spark, and all of a sudden it hits me. FDR was in a wheelchair and he did okay. I can do this. So I decided I'm not going to sink down in despair and quit. Instead, I'm going to keep going. Now, over the next 3 years, when I overdid it as a young lawyer, I did have 2 subsequent MS flare-ups where I lost vision in each of my eyes due to lesions on my optic nerves. But our body's miraculous, though, and it heals itself when you care for it properly. And thank God, I've now gone almost 19 years without another flare-up. But the lesson is simple. You have to listen to your inner voice when it tells you to slow down. Just like you have to listen when it tells you to get up and run into your future. Now, I wasn't listening to that still small voice inside anymore, and I only realized or understood these lessons fully later in life. I mean, I knew then I needed to slow down and stop pulling all-nighters. It was basically lack of sleep and stress that caused, multiple sclerosis for me. But I continued to work, as a young parent and entrepreneur, and before that as a lawyer. I was just running in circles, like hoping for things to get better. And for years, I saw sad eyes looking at me in the mirror, wondering why I hadn't hit my potential. I knew I wasn't living as my true self. Now, I mentioned having an awakening about 7 years ago where I started to look into why that was the case. Now, in the summer of 2018, I had this complete awakening, and I decided I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I decided to work on improving myself and start listening and growing again. So I've done intense study on personal growth and aligning our goals with our habits over the last 7 years. And this 7 year journey has been extraordinary and brought me to a place of deep personal alignment with my true self and my personal, professional, and spiritual growth. And once I saw the light in the mirror, it dawned on me. I'm meant to inspire others. That's what my true self is meant to do. That's what that still small voice inside has been telling me for decades. That's why I saw sad eyes looking at me in the mirror for so many years, because living as a lawyer and then clean energy entrepreneur isn't living as my true self. I'm not making enough impact every day. The truth is, writing books and inspiring you is my true calling. I tell you this because I want to know, what is your true calling? In the immortal words of Nelson Mandela, who lived fully through struggle and triumph, there is no passion in playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. I want you to live the life of your dreams, not in dealing with your MS, but in dealing with your BS. I want you to live the life of your dreams, which you can do today by living as your true self. Now, how can you do this? First, listen to your inner voice. Second, write down what you hear so that you can set big goals. Third, implement daily habits that help you live as your future self, as your true self, and achieve your goals. You can't live the extraordinary life of your dreams by playing small, by just going through the motions. Don't go through the motions at work, make your motions work. We're here to set big goals and then create a clear path to achieve those goals, followed by habits that will make your future come to life. That's how you're going to thrive in 2025. Be bold and be specific. What did I say? Be bold and be specific. Famed business strategist and author of Good to Great, Jim Collins, he said, if you have more than 3 priorities, you have none. If you have more than 3 priorities, you have none. We want to be bold, but we want to be specific. Don't just say, I have this big goal. No more than 3. You don't want to set 10 different priorities and fix all these things in your life. No more than 3. And we're going to set no more than 3 big goals because everyone is so scattered nowadays, trying to do everything well, that we give everything only our partial attention. So if you want to thrive in 25 and achieve big goals, you have to limit your focus and say no to a lot more. So I'm going to share with you now my system, and we're going to share these, the True Goals worksheet with you. We're going to share all the resources. We're going to have the replay for you. We're going to make all this available for you. We're going to have the recording, so don't feel like you got to write everything down. And keep going. So I'm going to share my system for setting big goals and then aligning them with quarterly and monthly goals. And we can help you refine your goals and then set daily habits that will make realizing your goals inevitable. So here's what I do first. And again, we're sharing this with you. Don't feel like you got to scribble it all down. And we're going to share these slides and the recording and everything. First, I envision my future by meeting myself in 10 years. I do this through a meditation, which I'm going to introduce you to today in just a couple minutes, where I meet my future self. And what I realized through that meditation is that is my true self. I meet my future self 10 years from now, and I'm able to see who I am meant to be. Another thing I do is I write a letter for my future self to my current self to see what all I've accomplished. And I then envision myself in just 3 years. So I've set that future, I see who I'm meant to be in 10 years. And that's your own vision of yourself. No one else gave that to me but me. No one else created it. That's my true self. I then boil that down to envisioning myself in 3 years, and I meet with my future self in 3 years, meaning I do a visualization or meditation. And I'm on my way in that 3 year self to that bold future that I saw 10 years from now. I then set 3 year goals based on that vision. So at the beginning of each year, I then set my big goals for the year that align with my 3 year goals. So I have a long-term vision for my future. I have a shorter term 3 year vision for my future that gets me on the way to that 10 year vision. I then set 3 year goals, and then I set annual goals that align with those 3 year goals. And again, it's no more than three. And I list the quarterly goals that I can do in the next 90 days to get me closer to my annual goals. Then I list the monthly goals that help me achieve the quarterly goals. And I update that each and every month. And, if you're on our mailing list and get our newsletter, you'll get my monthly report where I update those. I mean, I just did this, last week for the beginning of this month. And this has my October goals, and I checked in on my quarterly goals and my annual goals. And I usually keep those the same, but I might edit them a little bit. And then each quarter, obviously, I update my quarterly goals. So this is true alignment. This is how you bring your goals to life. I post them, these goals, meaning these are at my desk and on the mirror in my bathroom at work and at home. And so we're going to share our goals worksheet with you, the True Goals worksheet up there. We're going to share that with you when you get the recording from today, the recap, as well as our habit tracker. I see we put it up there so you have it in the chat right now. So you can download that immediately, or you can wait and you'll get it via email later today or tomorrow. So you make your goals big and simple. You take away all the nonsense that wastes your day. You got to think, is this thing I'm doing right now, is being on the phone or texting or checking social media or even picking up this stuff right now or doing dishes right now, do I have to do that right now? Or is this getting me closer to my goal? You get rid of the distractions and you focus in on your goal. You set that time. You try to get it done early in the day so that you can then feel that accomplishment and move on to other stuff. You can get ready to climb higher than you ever have before because it's your time to thrive. I want to take you now on that journey to meet your future self. So I'm going to lead you in a visualization to do that. So this is just an introduction. We're going to do this for about 5 minutes, but I honestly encourage you to do this for 15 to 30 minutes, really preferably, if you can, 20 to 30 minutes. So we're going to imagine your life 10 years from now, fully alive, successful, bold, peaceful, whatever it is that you envision yourself as. Imagine if today, on the other side of this Zoom, you're able to meet yourself from 10 years in the future. You want to close your eyes like we did earlier, or bring your gaze down low. You want to go to your happy place or your power place. Go to, maybe it was somewhere you've been on vacation. Maybe it is someplace you've envisioned. Maybe it's the beach or a mountaintop or somewhere that you feel strength. Maybe it's just your backyard, somewhere you feel truly alive. Go and meet your future self there 10 years from now. What do you notice about them? What are they wearing? How do they spend their time? How do they carry themselves? What wisdom are they able to share with you? You might want to ask them some questions about what they've accomplished and what life is like 10 years from now for you. Because remember, you're going to be a completely different person, but that goal, that life, your true self, is inside you now. So go now and meet your true self. Breathe deeply. Imagine going to your power place, waiting for you there as you walk in or you walk up. You see yourself 10 years from now. Go up, say hi, shake hands, give them a hug. Congratulate them on all they've accomplished. You'll find they also have a great deal of love and compassion for you. Go, spend time with them. Visualize how you appear, what you've done, and ask for their wisdom. Ask them questions you have. Go be your true self. All right, just start to bring some awareness. Start coming back. I hope you enjoyed meeting your true self. let him or her know that you'll be back soon to spend some more time together. All right. And we want to take this next part, and I want to give you, the opportunity to know that, this guided visualization, this is just a short introduction to doing a true meditation of, at least 15 to 30 minutes or so of spending time with your true self. So I want to make sure that you do this, take this with you. That's going to be, the starting point is making sure you know who you're meant to be, and then making goals that align with your true self. So next, after doing this visualization, I want to know, what did your future self show you? What are, 3 big goals that align with your future self? So what did your future self show you? Meaning, what wisdom did they share? How did they appear? Like I said, how did they carry themselves? What were they wearing? How do they spend their days? What do they do right now that you're not doing? But what are 3 goals that align with being that person that you're meant to be? So take just another couple minutes to journal about that. Maybe write down, what your future self showed you, and what are 3 goals that align with your future self. So I'll give you another, 3 or 4 minutes to work on that. And remember, these are exercises to take with you. So these aren't just, do it now, but also we want you to work on it later as well. I'll give you 3 minutes. All right, take just another, maybe 1 minute, 30 seconds to 1 minute, give you a minute just to finish working on some of the goal setting. All right. Hopefully that was effective. Remember, you want to go back and do this exercise. You will have these in the slides we're going to send to you, so you'll be able to see these prompts again. You can check back your journal, but spend maybe, 20, 30 minutes, meditating, and meeting your future self, and then going through the journal prompt, and then from that, truly developing those goals, those big long-term goals that align with your true self. Now, I guess, yeah. I mean, time-wise, I guess we'll move on. If anyone wants to share, by all means, put some of them in the chat here. If you want to share what your true self showed you, what you need to be working on. I mean, I'd love to hear. If anyone wants to share, maybe we'll take a couple of shares. If you want to raise your hand, if anyone wants to share, what their true self showed them, happy to have you participate. We'll do that for a couple minutes and then move on to the next section. Anyone want to share or have any questions?
I'll share.
Go ahead, Deborah.
I couldn't find the raise hand. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I got the unmute. Well, it's kind of a reiteration of what I had the last time I attended, but I was, glad to have a chance to go through it again and see. I kind of want to see if that's really what I'm thinking. I became a born again Christian in 1989, and I'm Jewish by birth. And I have such a very strong joy when I study God's word. And I love to express that in music, and also creatively with children in teaching and in puppetry. So my true self, I'm meeting myself 10 years from now and saying, wow, I feel like a super teacher. And I just, it's my happiest place, is it, and all three of them are very happy, but they're very closely linked. So there's like my getting fed, my expressing that in worship and joy to the Lord, and then sharing that skill with the music and the puppets, with the children, and the ability to teach them well and watch them get it. So yeah, I'm asking myself, well, Lord, how am I going to be able to afford this? But I'm thinking, as a substitute teacher in a Christian school is kind of where I'd like to, kind of focus my energy. But I need the other two elements of the time. So the three
Yes.
priorities are my self-feeding, my expression, my expressiveness, practicing and enhancing that in my creative skills, and then teaching and crafting and developing those relationships.
Yeah, keep in mind as well, Deborah, when we're, you're envisioning your true self to do that, but we also want to think when we set big goals in big terms, meaning if you want to share, the word, and you want to share what you've experienced with others in your faith, as well as inspiring children, and sharing that with digital media. I mean, you could be doing YouTube videos that, kids watch around the world and are played in Sunday school. So, as you set goals, don't limit them to where you can be at once, because you could be all around the world at once.
Good point. Thank you.
So yeah, we said that. I love that. I love how you're starting to bring it all together as well. You sort of had three distinct goals of teaching, sharing your faith, and your creativity, and you're bringing it all together as one. So that's beautiful. And you can set goals that align with each of those, but think big. Think about how you can reach, as many people, and share, the light of the Lord with as many people as possible. Who else? Anyone else want to share? All right. We move on. I'll give anyone last chance.
Here,
Sylvia, go ahead.
speaking it out manifests what you want. So I better share here. My 10-year vision is by then my kids will be off college and I'll be empty nester. And my vision is to be living on a cruise traveling around the world. While I started parenting, has really not had chance to travel. So I am building my own business as coach, life coach, career coach. And I also have a non-for-profit that I want to share what I know, my expertise to the non-for-profit clients, so that they have access to these things that we are learning that we can afford, but they can't. So that also non-for-profit services don't become revolving doors. They can elevate their quality. So I want to be the bridge for the niche that they don't have now because they cannot afford. So,
Right.
so my vision is that, and I realize my three big goals are: I need to continue completing my credentials that I want to complete, and that's priority. Which also I need to focus on developing my business, putting profit first. I tend to give away my services a lot. And then the next one is healthy, take care of health in terms of physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional area, so that I can be attuned to building relationship first at home, then like the community around me. So those are my three big goals.
Yeah, I love those. I mean, first, the work from cruises while traveling. Yeah, you betcha. Like I used to travel all the time, all around the world, before I had kids. And, I think since I've had kids, I got them all passports. We went to Montreal last summer, about, 40, about an hour and a half from here where we are now. So I hear you. We've talked a lot today about caring for others and caring for ourselves before caring for others. So, I hope to get back out in the world and start seeing the world with them as well. But, that's definitely a goal. But, that working from cruises while traveling, it just sounds absolutely extraordinary. So combining that with, helping nonprofits and pursuing your education, and the last things you said about focusing on, your health, your education, or your credentials, et cetera, we'll hit that next as we get into the aligned habits. So, anyone else have anything? If not, I'm going to move into our next section, which, we'll start to align our habits with these big goals. Before we do that, just I want to mention that version that you just meant, who's confident, calm, clear, it's not that far away. You may not even have to wait 10 years. You may be able to get there in 3 years, or 2 years or 4 years. But, they live on the other side of clarity and aligned habits. And the truth is, you don't think your way into becoming your future self. You have to experience your way into it and do it. And that's exactly why your habits are so important. That's how you make sure you're living as your true self each day. Becoming your true self and living your life on purpose can take years or even decades. And sadly, most people never even get there. Aligned habits shape your identity over time, which is why we created the 8-week Thrive in 25 course, as well as this new True Self project we're about to launch. And through this experience, each week in the Thrive course, our participants are immersed in a supportive and growth-focused environment, which allow you to become your true self now. You'll be living in your true self in just 2 months instead of taking a lifetime. So keep in mind, that's something that we've created that allows people to accelerate this growth. And for now, we want to talk about building habits that reinforce your true self. Now we're going to turn your vision of your true self that you just met into repeatable, grounded action. Your habits, which are your daily practice of becoming your true self. So you take your true goals worksheet, and then you start turning that into daily habits so you actually become your true self now. When I began the regular practice of meditating and journaling 7 years ago, it felt difficult and awkward at first. I don't know why it felt awkward. Like maybe I was worried my wife or kids might walk in and I see this crazy guy sitting there in the lotus position, um, make fun of me, which they do anyway. So, uh, but I stuck with it and it became natural and heartfelt and habitual. And now it's a part of my daily life. And habits, both good and bad, are hard to break. Heaven knows I've had my bad habits, like, used to smoke or using weed or staying up too late, like we talked about. But it's a lot easier to break bad habits when you have good habits and positive reinforcement to break them. So, in the words of Aristotle, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Again, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. By retraining your brain to live a more positive, productive, and happy life, you're more easily able to achieve your goals. Even if you've done the same negative routine for decades, your brain can be reprogrammed through deliberate practice. Again, we are what we repeatedly do. So if you want to see and do things differently, then set new habits and do them repeatedly. It doesn't happen overnight. But with practice, you can retrain your brain for love, happiness, and success. To get into a routine of positive habits, it's worthwhile to track your habits. There's a saying, I think Peter Drucker said it. It says, you can't improve what you don't measure. You want to measure and track that which you want to improve. Track your habits to make them come to life. Don't wait for your future to happen, meaning that future self that may not happen. You want to start being that person you're meant to be now. It's not 10 years from now. That person you met is who you're meant to be now, and you know it. It helps to measure and track your progress in living as your true self. Don't put it off. It doesn't have to be profound or difficult. Make it simple. Now we're going to talk about the habitually inspired habit tracker that we created simply as a way to track up to 10 daily habits. The chart is broken out by week, and you just write the habits that you want to work on or improve. This is just an example of one that I use. It looks like this is from August. And so you just want to put maybe those things that will help you hit your personal, professional, and spiritual goals. Those things that improve your mind, your body, and your spirit. Maybe you want to track progress on a fitness goal. And I see that we've made it there. The habit tracker is there in the chat. You can download it now. We're also going to make it, again, available. We will email it to you with the recap of this recording. We'll send you the recording, the True Self, True Goals worksheet as well. So maybe you want to track progress on a work goal or fitness goal. I lost over 30 pounds from tracking my intermittent fasting. For now, let's just focus on what you want to improve and start tracking it. Try to make those habits, those things that will help you achieve your 3 big goals. Like maybe they don't have to be daily little practices that necessarily get you to that goal, but they help you be the person that achieves those goals. The habit tracker is a great way to do it on paper or digitally. Remember though, if you do this on your phone or a computer, do not use your phone or computer for the first hour you are awake. Do not use your phone or computer for the first hour you're awake, except maybe to turn off an alarm, play some positive music, or listen to a book while you work out or meditate. The problem is you may get stuck on an app to track your habits and then switch to checking emails or texts. The point is, orienting your day properly is absolutely essential to living a life of joy. By orienting yourself properly, I mean, don't be on your phone for the first hour you're awake and the last hour before you go to sleep. Don't check email, text, social media, or communicate with anyone other than yourself for the first hour you're awake. Now, I don't track this, but it's worth tracking if you find the phone addiction taking you from setting your intention from the day. You know, if you get on your phone, you might find that all of a sudden you're checking a text and then you haven't set your attention for the day. Instead, you know, the last person to text before you went to sleep or the first person, you know, in the morning, that takes your attention. You want to stay focused on your goals. So I've been tracking daily habits now for over 5 years. Remember, we are what we repeatedly do. So you see there, that's what I'm tracking right now. Sleep by 10, wake by 5, meditate, journal, 1 hour of flow on top priority. That's from August. I've actually for October increased that to 90 minutes of flow on my top priority. And I try to get that done before noon so that I've accomplished my big task for the day. Read a spiritual book, read Tao Te Ching. I'm working on my book called Habitually Inspired now, so definitely feeling very spiritual right now. 30, 60 minutes of quality content. exercise or yoga, and PM journal. So those are the things I'm tracking. And look, it changes slightly from quarter to quarter. Like I mentioned, that's from August, and I just updated mine a little bit, and only minor tweaks there. But it's based on what you're trying to work on or improve. But many of those habits have been the same for me for the last 5 years. For example, I used to wake up and meditate, but last year when I was working on my first book, Light in the Mirror, I added right from 5:30 to 7 as my first activity of the day, which you see there, wake and then meditate and journal. Um, because during that time it's undistracted time, and that habit of working on my book when there are no disruption and my brain's in the right state helped me to hit my goal of writing my book in 6 months, which I did, because I did it every day and I tracked it. I made that commitment to myself and I hit my goal. Now, is this list perfect? No. Do I get to every single habit every single day? No. You can see there are blanks in there. But on the days when I am at my best, I hit them all. And those days become more and more frequent the longer I track my habits. I make time for them. I make sure I do these like my life depended on it. You know what? My future life does depend on it. I can't reach my goals if I'm not doing those habits. If I'm not living as my true self, I'm not going to get to be that person I hope to be. But I don't have to wait. I can start being him now. So as I go along, I have more days at my best and I hit them all more often. That which is being measured is actually improving. Look, track what works best for you. Look at the goals you're setting, see what you need to do to hit those goals, and make those areas your daily habits. What is that person you dream of being? Do each day. You journaled about your vision for yourself in 3 years or yourself in 10 years. What does your future self do each day that you aren't doing now? Just pick those things and be that person by practicing each day. Practice being your true self, and you'll quickly become that person. My life is improving each day because I'm tracking that which matters most to me, and I'm holding myself accountable by tracking it. I got it right here. I'm checking it every night before I go to bed. I'm living as my true self. 4 years ago, I envisioned my future self and I wrote a letter to myself from my future self. I then took those actions that my future self took. I started dressing like the person I envisioned. It was me, but different. It was the me I wanted to become, and I started transforming into the person I wanted to be. I started tracking the habits that my future self would do, and I did them. I didn't used to do all these things every day, but I started doing them, and I became that person I knew I was meant to be. Now, did I reach him fully? No, not yet. But I never will, because my vision for my future self continues to grow and new habits emerge as I evolve. So I keep updating this regularly. Who do you want to become? And are you fired up to become that person? Jim Rohn said, motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. We're here to thrive this year, to set big goals, but this year we're going to accomplish those goals because we're going to put habits in place that make achieving those goals inevitable. You've heard me say that before. Habits in place that make achieving those goals inevitable. You will put the habits in place. If you do them and you work on them and you do most of them day in, day out, you will hit your goals. You aren't going to be in that 91% anymore of people who don't. You're going to be in that 9% of people who do achieve the goals they set. Now, let's get into some habit mapping. And I'll give you maybe 3 or 4 minutes to work on this. And that is, what are 5 to 10 habits that will help you become your future self? And from those big goals, remember, you did 3 big goals that your future self would do, or what are 3 goals you can set that will get you closer to being that version of yourself that you met, that future version of yourself. So what are 5 to 10 habits that'll help you become your future self? So take, 3 or 4 minutes. Again, these are exercises for you to do after we're together today. You want to spend some time really crafting these. And we've provided the habit tracker here. You want to put them in your habit tracker and start tracking. All right, go ahead and take a few minutes to do that. All right. Let's remember, you can always come back to these. You need to come back to these, film out in your habit tracker. But this is getting to true alignment. This is aligning those big goals, that vision for your life with your, long-term goals, your short-term goals, and then these are the daily habits that'll help get you there. Um, Next, we're going to talk about, I don't want to go too far over. If you want to share some of your habits, put them in the chat here. I want to talk now about overcoming setbacks and building resilience. I think we all shared and talked a lot about the challenges that we have in, caring for others. I think a lot of us have an issue with, not being able to put ourselves and our lives and our goals and our dreams first because we care for so many other people and they rely on us. But on the other hand, as compassionate people who care for others, we also have our own goals and desires and vision for our life that we want to achieve and don't want, life to get away from us without giving, as I said before, a megaphone to that still small voice inside and truly living as our true self, aligned with our goals and our true self. So we want to talk about how you overcome setbacks and build resilience when life gets in the way so that nothing will stop you. You don't have to get knocked off and then give up on your goals and your dreams. You don't have to be in that 91% of folks who don't achieve their annual goals. So we want to reinforce that there's safety in your ascent to your future self and get a long-term commitment to your success. When you set aligned goals and build the habits to match, you're not just chasing results, you're becoming someone new. We mentioned that earlier, that you're not yourself you were 10 years from now, but if you're clear on your goals now, you're going to become someone new. You're going to become who you want to be. Now, look, stuff gets in the way. I've mentioned earlier, it was Memorial Day weekend, just, in end of May 29th, 30th, I think. My wife was dancing at a party at a bat mitzvah, and she ruptured her Achilles. Now, I mentioned we have 5 kids, and it was 2 weeks before school was out. Our 8th grader was graduating. My wife teaches preschool, and she then was totally immobilized and bedridden and had to get surgery. And it's the end of school. It's about to be the start of summer and summer camps and all this stuff. And, we went from a total team to completely involved parents working together to run our family. And I run 2 businesses too. All of a sudden, me caring for her 5 kids plus her. So I then had 6 people to take care of. And she had surgery 2 weeks after the rupture. And she was basically bedridden for the first, almost 2 months of the summer. And I had to finish, everyone getting through the end of school and all the end of year parties and graduation and getting to camp. And it's like it's the, and no joke, by the way, my wife was dancing at this bat mitzvah, kids party, 13-year-old party. And she was dancing to the, if you know the Kesha and Pitbull song Timber, it's going down. It'll be a night you won't remember. So she was dancing to Timber. She went down. And um, she also, no joke, was dancing with our friend who's an orthopedic surgeon. So, within a couple minutes, she was sitting in the chair. She was like, something happened, felt like someone hit me in the back. He looked at her leg. He's like, you ruptured your Achilles. So anyway, our life ground to a halt. All of my goals, I didn't use my daily habit tracker, at all for weeks. I had all these things I was trying to get done by the end of June, by the end of the quarter, first half of the year. It all got blown to hell, and they were tough days. I mean, honestly, they were the toughest, most frustrating days I've had as a parent because, I was the sole one getting everyone to bed and dealing with everyone. I would then, have to, feed my wife, put her in a wheelchair, take her to the bathroom, bring her back to bed, dress her wounds and all this stuff. I was basically, I wasn't getting to sleep by 10. I was getting to bed by almost midnight, having to get up at 5:30, not in my routine, just caring for everyone. And it sucked. We pulled up to school And it's like, the second to last day of school. And I'm like, wear your shoes. Like I'd forgotten my 3-year-old daughter's shoes. And we had to, I drop everyone else off. She and I um, went over to Target, grabbed some sandals. I brought her back. I said, I'm sorry I forgot your shoes. And she said, it's okay, Daddy. I forgot my shoes too. And it absolutely, it like melted my heart. And I was just in this constant frenzy. So like life gets in the way. We set these goals and then life happens, but you don't want to give up on them because the habit tracker will help you get back. So when you take a risk, and you listen to your inner voice and you pursue a path, it's not about whether you get to the goal. There will always be twists and turns. It's not about the destination, but about who you become in the process of becoming your true self. When you set big, audacious goals, like working remotely from cruises, Sylvia, or being a faith child instructor teacher. Now, it's not about the destination. It's about who you become in the process when you set these big goals, so that even if you fall a little bit short, you end up so much further ahead than you were before because you actually started getting there. Tracking your habits isn't a test. You're not competing against others. You're keeping track so you can improve, and you will improve dramatically. And some weeks won't be as strong as others. Some weeks will be like the weeks I had, last summer. And yet, if you want to live in bliss, then keep tracking and improving. You aren't always going to feel this balance. Either busy life takes us from our healthy habits like sleep, meditation, journaling, exercise, or something happens that gets in your mind and those negative recurring thoughts take over again. I forget who said it. I think maybe Nietzsche said it, that like, when you're thinking, your mind is just talking to itself. And it's true. These negative thoughts come up and it's negative self-talk. Like my daughter had a nightmare last night. I told her it's not real. Like everything we think isn't real. It's just our thoughts about it. So it's not always perfect. But the more you work at it and you trust your true self as your guide, the more you stick to your healthy habits and come back to your true self, no matter how busy you are and what negativity impacts your life, you're never too busy or distracted to take 2 seconds to look yourself in the mirror, lock eyes with yourself, and say, I love you. You're never too tired to put your hand on your heart and say, I love you as you drift off to sleep. You've got to keep going, even when you don't feel it. In fact, when you don't feel it is the perfect time to reset. When your computer isn't working properly, you reboot. When that dreaded little colored spinning wheel of death goes and you're freezing up on your computer and nothing's working, you press the reset button, Control Alt Delete, or you force a restart. When things aren't going well and you're off your game, you reboot yourself. Go back, look at your habit tracker, look at your goals worksheet, and begin again. Don't give up. This is your reboot. This brings you back to your true self. This brings you back to accelerating towards your big goal. Once you head down this path and you see the light it brings you, you can't unsee it. You can't unsee the light in the mirror and all around you. Even when you've had bad days, those days get shorter and less frequent. You can change the trajectory more quickly. Your habits keep you going and help you get back to who you're meant to be. That's why they're so important. When a challenge, a tragedy, or even just a bad day knocks you off track, get back to tracking your habits and find your alignment with yourself again. It'll accelerate you again towards your goals, even if you got pushed back a little bit. So now we want to start proceeding to closing. I think we may go a couple minutes over today, but I'm also happy to stay on for any questions you have. But we want to start activating this identity shift. So I want to ask you a quick question, and you can just put this in the chat. It doesn't require a whole lot of thought, but it's a 24-hour commitment to yourself. What's one small action you will take in the next 24 hours to move you toward your true self? What's one small action you'll take in the next 24 hours to move you toward your future self or your true self? So give you just a couple seconds. You can type something in the chat or, raise your hand if you want to share, and then we'll start heading towards closing.
I'll share, Ben. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you? Okay. So I was thinking, I was feeling kind of sad about all these boxes I haven't gone through that I really don't want the stuff that's in them. But especially your story of how disheveled your poor life got there in the summer. I was like, wow, this is small. I can just go. We're going to Goodwill today. I can just go and take the 3 empty boxes I saved and just count 100 things and put 100 things in those 3 boxes and just take them and don't look back. And yeah, I can do it.
That's great. All right. The decluttering. I mean, just purge. You don't need anything. Get rid of it all.
And then I printed out my habit tracker. So I'm going to print out the goals worksheet and take that with me as we go to the Goodwill.
Oh, that's great. Wonderful. Yeah. I carry mine with me.
Really?
I generally check them off at night or, the next morning. Interesting. I hadn't gotten to one of them, meaning read spiritual book. And last night I played the Tao Te Ching while I was falling asleep last night. So this morning I checked it off. I felt like I hadn't gotten to that one. So this morning I was like, oh, I actually got to one more than I thought I did. So I was at 8 for 10 last night. But that's wonderful. I'm really proud of you, Deborah. You're doing a great job staying on top of it and letting the past go to make more room for your true self.
That's right. Thank you.
Wonderful. Anyone else? Any other 24-hour commitments you want to make to move towards your future self? All that stuff you've accumulated, Deborah, that's all from the past. I mean, I know some of it feels sentimental, but I got to say, I've learned over the years. I used to have my mom passed away when she was only 53, and I'm getting closer to that now. I was only 23, and I've always carried all this stuff from her around, and as I get older, I mean, I don't need any of it. Like, I miss her all the time. I wish she was here with my kids, but like, it's not her. It's things I was holding on to from the past, and we carry all this stuff with us, and we really don't need any of it. Even the most sentimental things, they're just, signifiers of the past. I mean, we just need the people we're with, and, that's just about it. And I think God, I think I've never said this in this course before, but I think Gandhi died with 4 possessions. I think he had his glasses, a journal, and 2 other things. I need to research and find out what it was, but I think he had 4 possessions when he died. And I mean, he's the most, if not the, one of the most successful people ever.
And how about the Lord Jesus, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
he was naked.
He had no possessions. He had, a crown of thorns is what he died with.
Crown of thorns. That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So anyway, any other 24-hour commitments anyone wants to make?
Go to bed without the phone.
What's that?
Go to bed without the phone.
Yes. No phone for the last hour before bed and the first hour we wake up. That's great. I love it, Sylvia. That's a wonderful commitment. All right. Well, anyone else? No phone for the first hour of the day and the last hour before bed. No screens. All right. Now, as we close here, I appreciate you sharing those. And now it's time to really launch into space. It's time to put on your spacesuit and climb on the shuttle on the launch pad and skyrocket into space, meaning into your future. Because staring at the stars is inspiring, but it won't make you an astronaut. Meaning thinking about your true self and envisioning your future is great, but you got to actually get there. It's time to launch. A lot of preparation goes into launching a spaceship to blast off into the beautiful celestial hemisphere. The voyage only begins, though, with the decision to climb aboard and soar to your destination. It's painful not being who you're meant to be. It's painful wishing you could be the person you see in your mind, and it seems like it's either impossible or it's taking forever to get there. but it doesn't have to be painful. These are choices. This is your life to choose. You can either continue to go through the motions or live the life that you're meant to live. You can stay in the harbor and stare at the sea, or you can cross the ocean. You can stare at the stars, or you can launch yourself into space. You can stay in that same painful job or create the career you want. You can stare at the phone, or you can play with your kids. You can stay up late watching TV, or you can get up early and meditate. You can busy yourself on social media or email, or you can make real progress on your goal. You can be miserable in that relationship that you've outgrown, or you can find true love with the person that brings out the best in you. You can sing the song you're meant to sing, or you can keep it bottled inside. These are all choices. Some of those are tough choices, but they are all yours and yours alone to make. I love this quote by Elizabeth Appel about becoming who you're meant to be. And she said, and the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. Your life is only created by you. And we all create our own reality by our mindset and the choices we make. You can choose to live a life of happiness and bliss by deciding to do so, but staying tight in your bud is far more painful than the risk it will take you to blossom. At any stage in life, this holds true. It is never too late to be who you are meant to be. Be honest with yourself. Are you living the life you're meant to live? Are you achieving the one thing that inspires you the most? If not, it's time to blossom. It's time to live life inspired. Remember that Mandela quote from earlier in the workshop. There's no passion in playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. You're capable of living an extraordinary life. Each of you are. Make it big. Do not play small. Do not settle. You know what you are capable of. You just need to get it out of your head, down on paper, and then take action every morning to get you closer to who you're capable of being. But it can't be small. You won't take any action if you have a small goal because it doesn't matter that much. Most people spend their days accomplishing small tasks and going through a bunch of little actions instead of taking big actions for significant blocks of time to get to seemingly impossible goals. The digital world and fast-paced modern life have trained us to feel busy, but not very productive. All that busyness keeps us from designing a bold vision for our lives and then planning out that journey and the small habits that get us there. As Les Brown put it, most people fail in life, not because they aim too high and miss, but because they aim too low and hit. Don't aim for these low targets, accomplishing menial tasks. Aim high. You're meant to live an extraordinary life. If you invest in yourself and start what was recommended today, you will find true freedom and happiness. So you can make excuses or you can awake with intention. Look in the mirror, say, I love you, and then implement the steps prescribed today to return to your true self and be the person you were meant to be. Don't wait until that still small voice inside is suppressed to a faint, faint whisper and you don't hear it anymore. You know what you need to do. If you pause for a moment to listen, to truly listen, you'll hear your higher power and your inner voice calling you to be the force for great good in this world that you were meant to be. Listen to it, write it down, and then every day do what's necessary to get you closer to being that brilliant light you were meant to be. See the light in the mirror every day and watch it glow and grow. Life is to be lived and lived out loud. Life is to be enjoyed with enthusiasm. Love is to be shared and spread far and wide. The journey isn't always smooth, and roadblocks always pop up unexpectedly. But the tools provided today help make the journey smoother and get you around the roadblocks faster. Those that love you will be there for you. I love you and will be there with you on this journey. I'm always happy to help guide you up the mountain as you climb to meet your true self. As your feet hit the floor tomorrow morning, simply say to yourself, it's going to be an amazing day. I start my every single day, my feet hit the floor, I say, it's going to be an amazing day. And then walk into the bathroom, step in front of that mirror, lock eyes with yourself and say, I love you. And then go spread that light out into the world. The world needs your light to shine brightly now more than ever. As you awake with intention, with your goals set and your habits aligned, put down the phone, turn off the negative news, and just listen to your still small voice inside. Listen to yourself and your higher power, and then write down what you hear. And don't wait. Turn what you wrote down into action you can take today to live the life of your dreams, to be the person you were meant to be, to live your life of love, happiness, and bliss. Now, I'm happy to stay on for a couple minutes with any other questions about, habits or setting goals. But what you learned today is a solid foundation for living as your true self. But truly living in alignment takes practice and consistency. So at the end of the year, we're going to be hosting the next Thrive in 25 8-week course, which is designed to fast track your journey to your true self through weekly lessons, group coaching, and a supportive community. So if you're curious, open, or even just intrigued, we'll send the link and as well as I think a special discount code in a recap email following this workshop. So you'll know if it's for you because you've already met your true self and you're ready to align with who you're meant to be. So we're going to send you some homework. So, we're going to send you the resources after this workshop. You'll get the recap or the recording with recording from today, as well as your habit tracker worksheet that we provided in the chat and the true self, the true goals worksheet, as well as this new epic daily routine checklist that we created that we're really excited about. Talks a lot about the morning routine and your evening routine to live aligned. Like we keep saying, you can't care for others unless you care for yourself. This is how you can create that time to care for yourself so you can care better for others. And then, remember as well that you also have a little homework to do. We talked about you wanted to go back and do that meditation. You want to take at least 15 minutes to, meet your future self in 10 years and then journal about it. How'd you look? How'd you carry yourself? What have you accomplished? What wisdom did you share? Ask your future self questions and then do that exercise, which I found so valuable, of writing a letter from your future self, in 10 years or in 3 years. Write a letter from yourself in 10 years or 3 years to yourself today. That person that you met during your visualization, write that letter and keep it and refer back to it regularly. I did one 4 years ago, and I keep it on my desk. I do look at it regularly. It's incredible how much, compassion. I was so proud of myself for all that I've gone through, but also, he told me about this wonderful life that, is aligned with who I want to be. It's your true self telling you which direction to go. You can then turn that into your goals and your habits and be that person now. So also happy to stay on if anyone has any other questions, happy to answer those. And, I think we've shared my email as well. Feel free to email. I can't guarantee I'll get to it within, an hour or two, but I will certainly try within, 24 or 48 hours to get right back to you. And, I love sharing, as you can tell, love communicating with, folks that enjoy our message and the resources that we have to share. Anyone have any questions or anything you want feedback on some of the things we've discussed today?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Sylvia.
My question is mindset. So this is systemic structure is required to move the needle to get to your goal. I understand, but it's the mindset when the hard time comes or when my body is tired. It's like, it's not, I don't want to do this. It's like, what's the point of doing all this? Right? And then you just want to delete all these goals and dreams. I'm comfortable now. Why do I have to put myself through this? Why don't I just go through the motion and then flow with it instead of putting myself through this building habit that is very challenging for me.
Yeah.
What do you do times like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's part of the reason, I talked about resiliency, but you're reminding me of, something I said earlier, and that is, be honest with yourself. Are you living the life of your dreams right now? And, the going through the motions is giving up and living the life that you've been, given by the world. It's the life of the world, not the life that you are meant to live. And so it may feel like a challenge, but I'll tell you, if you do that work, if you do that internal work of envisioning your true self and then taking the steps to care for your body and your mind and your spirit, and you start working on those and tracking them, you will find that it is worth it, that you feel much more energetic, you feel much younger, you feel much healthier. You are worth every single thing in the world is just you. Your whole world is only as good as your health and your happiness. And all of that is totally within your control. What you can't control, you can't worry about. So, I mean, you can't worry about, the state of affairs in the world. You can't control what others think or how others feel. You can control how you feel and what your future ends up becoming. So you don't want to just adopt the mindset of, what's the use? Like, this stuff is too hard, because it's not too hard. What's too hard is living a life that's not the life that you want. I mean, you know, that beautiful, excited woman who works from cruises, while traveling and helps nonprofits, solve their problems because, they don't have enough money, to hire big consulting firms to do that. That's someone who's passionate, and that person you envisioned is bold and confident and happy and doesn't sort of say, oh, what's the use? So that's who you're meant to be. That's why it's worth the time and effort.
But sometimes, like, thinking about that 10-year vision is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But then what is wrong with being content and happy with what I have now and then not have that goal achieved and then live in a small scale?
Yeah. There's no need for complexity. There's no need for complexity. I'm not saying you need to make a overly complicated life. I'm not saying you need to, go strive for, to try to make $100 million within the next couple years and, be in the Fortune 500. But the problem is you outlined who your true self is. And there's no problem with living simply, but it sounds like you're also not living happily and in alignment with your true self. So, there's nothing wrong with your goals can be simple. I mean, your goals can be things like, um, related to sleep and exercise and, things like meditation or, helping nonprofits. They don't have to be, working from cruises, while traveling. That's a great thing to do. But if that, seems too big, start smaller. There's nothing wrong with being satisfied with a simple life. In fact, I would say, I would say a simple life is a good thing.
Mhm.
But when you have a complex, overwhelmed life, that's not necessarily a simple life.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to reconnect sometime soon if when you have time.
Yeah. Happy to do so. I mean, there are little things. I mean, I would start small. Like Chad said, his friend who, um, I think passed, I forget what, Japanese fluency certificate or something by doing
Mhm.
10 minutes a day, you know, I think right now, starting small, setting those big goals, but starting small, working on, you know, sleep and health and mindset. I have a number of books that, you know, email me and I will email you a couple books. Do you use another great way? Because I never had time to read either. Is once I downloaded Audible about 7 years ago, I've just consumed tons of content. Do you have Audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, consume a ton of positive content on Audible. It will start changing, you know, your mindset as well.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that really helped me a lot as I started this journey, you know, 7 years ago of
Mhm.
learning what it is that helps us achieve greatness within ourselves.
Well, thank you. I'm really glad that I had a chance to connect with you. Like, there's a lot of like resemblance from you that I see from my husband. Yeah. So good luck with your book, and I look forward to reading your book once you get published.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it should be soon. We're working with the publisher now. Appreciate it. All right. Great to see you. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Good to see you, Deborah.
Thank you, Ben. Great, a great positive workshop. Really
Thank
appreciate
you. Thank you. Good to see you
it.
again.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I'll try to email you as well.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
All right.
All right.
I will log out and stay connected.
Okay. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Hope
Good
everyone has a
luck.
great day. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Be well. Bye-bye.